What's up, Pats fans? We're back. Pat's Tailgate Party podcast. Back at you on a winning streak this week. Really excited to be back. Before we get kicked off into the pod, we always say it. We'll say it again. We'll keep saying it until you get on and do it. You got to go to bostonsportsjournal.com or look up the Boston Sports Journal app on whatever device you use. It is the best Patriots coverage you can find. Greg Bedard does a great job over there. All 5 of us are members. So if you get a chance, listen to this entire podcast first, then like the podcast, then subscribe to the podcast, then go to bostonsportsjournal.com and check it out and get the best Pats coverage you can have. My name is Michael Lakis. My handle on BSJ is Pat Sock Seltz Brews. So check me out over there. And I'll pass it around the room. We'll see how everybody's doing today. We'll go to my right. Andrew Lakis, how are you?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I'm good. Good to be with you guys. I am Winter Coats on BSJ. I've been lurking for a while. I don't think I've had a comment in like 3 months, so maybe it's time. But no, excited to be with you. The mood feels a little bit better in Pats Nation right now after these last couple of weeks. So excited to get into that with you guys.
Awesome. Very good. Then we will continue on to the right. Doug Lake is senior. No,
senior. Who's the junior?
I'm just kidding. Come on. I was just joking. I was just kidding.
I have to put that on my jersey, Mike.
Doug Lake,
senior.
Senior SR. That's great. Dad, how are you, man?
I'm good, guys. Glad to be back. Coach Stradamus on Boston Sports Journal. Hope everything's going well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then we'll go down below me, Mike Davis. Mike Davis with the sweat, Pat Sweat behind him. How are you?
Mike and Stoneham on BSJ. I'm fantastic as always and excited to be back this week.
Got that sharp cut going on too, which I love to see, man. Looking good. And then Bill Donovan, how are you, sir?
Doing well. Glad to be back and doing another week of the podcast. And I am Bill D1954 at Sports Journal.
Awesome. Very good. Again, go to bostonsportsjournal.com. Check it out. You will be smarter as a Patriots fan by the time you sign up and read a little bit or watch some of the videos they have over there. So awesome. Well, let's dive into this past week. It was what we wanted to see. We are officially on a winning streak, which is exciting. The Patriots win on the road in Cleveland. By the way, we won't take too much of the credit for it. We all did pick a win. Greg Bedard picked a win. I believe on the year that makes him 7-0 against the spread in picks and straight up. So that tells you all you need to know about why you need to read. If you haven't read it, he has won me a lot of money and helped me bet the Patriots this year, which is good. So Andrew, you're about to say something.
I was just going to say you can pay for your subscription in 1 week if you take Greg's pick and put $20 on it. Your subscription's covered.
That's exactly right. It's all you need to do. And beyond just the big win in Cleveland, I mean, Zappe fever is at a fever pitch. I mean, it's an all-time high. I see a lot of head shakes going on over here. I mean, what do we think? I mean, I'll just kick it off with that. I'll just throw the hot take in the middle of the table and let everybody just pick at it. I mean, I'm hearing stuff now about we on the last pod. Check it out. We were talking about how people were talking how this is 2001 all over again, and the reincarnation of Tom Brady. And this week I'm hearing the same thing, but more. Now it's getting national headlines. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to let you guys digest it and discuss, and then we'll pick it apart a little bit. But what do you think? Is it Zappe time? I mean, do we just say Mac? We see what we can get draft picks wise and just put Zappe in there, or that's what it sounds like the public wants to do. I mean, what's
easy now?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, hang on.
Slow down.
No, I mean that's what I'm hearing out there. Why is this even a conversation? I guess would be the better question as we
Andrew,
talk.
Go ahead and kick us off.
Yeah, it's the old
Andrew.
fantasy football. It's the old fantasy football maneuver. I haven't played in a few years, but when you pick a guy up off the waiver wire, he has a good week. You don't trade your stud. You trade the guy who had the good week. Nobody will take it. But let's see what we can get for old Zappe. Maybe we get a third round pick. No, I mean, I think it's been a lot of fun watching the last 2 weeks. I mean, I don't think the Lions or Browns are any good. I think we ended last week talking about you're not going to feel great if they win, but you can feel terrible if they lose because essentially there's no playoffs. So, we live another week. And and get to do the same thing all over again with the Bears on Monday. But I think Zappe's got poise. He's making the plays that are there. He's not turning the ball over aside from the one strip sack. And that's fun to watch. It lets the defense is playing really well. Run game struggled last week, but I think generally the offensive line's playing better. And so he's done everything you'd ask of him, and we've gotten 2 wins out of it. But I'm just a believer that there's a reason NFL quarterbacks outside of Russell Wilson, are a little bit taller, a little bit bigger, have a little bit stronger arm. And I just think Zappe has a ceiling that is much lower than Mac's. And if anything, I hope again that this lights a fire under Mac to come back and take what's there, do what he did last year, and just keep progressing a little more slowly, stop turning the ball over. But it's Mac's job as soon as he's ready. Maybe as soon as today at practice. I don't know if Mac practiced or not, but
so let's talk about the turnovers for a second, right? Because even at the end of last year, we were talking about the fact that what sets Mac apart is that he's a precision passer, right? Guy's got to be where he's got to be when he's got to be there, right? So some of those turnovers were, Zappe's one turnovers to number 1-5, right? So Aguilar's helped both guys turn over the ball. And if you look at the guys who Mac was throwing to, in a lot of cases, it's pretty clear that they weren't going where they were supposed to go when they were supposed to go. So number one, I'll say Zappe's not looking for as much pinpoint accuracy. Number two, some of those guys aren't playing anymore, right? Aguilar's turned an ankle. Jonnu Smith's not in all of those routes. And so it's a simpler concept that he's trying to play with. Now, you're right? Is it time for Mac Jones not to try to put it in such tight windows and not to try to throw those timing patterns, but to sort of throw to a more open zone and not try to throw guys open? I don't know. That's what makes him a really better than average passer. If a guy goes where he's supposed to go and does what he's supposed to do. So I think receivers are running better routes for Zappe. And as you said, it's not like they're facing the 85 Bears. The Detroit was down 5 defensive backs, 5 2 weeks ago. Who was he throwing against?
Well, Cleveland, if you think that the Detroit defense is bad, watch the film. Cleveland's arguably the worst back end defense in the NFL, first of all. Second of all, I'm going to be remiss if I don't say, he did finish, just throw a little fuel on the fire, 24-30 of 34, 309 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, those are some pretty gaudy numbers. I have a feeling though, here's the reality of the situation. Yes, it has to do with who's on the field. Yes, it has to do with the routes they run. It also has to do with the fact that they're running a more simplified offense. They're running a simplified version of the offense. And I know Bedard's talked about this ad nauseum. If they ran that same offense for Mac, he'd probably look he would look the way they looked last year when they went on a run. And instead, they're going 5 spread and all this other stuff and putting Mac. They're making Mac make these decisions and throw in tight windows that, frankly, he might just not be ready to make. And that's okay for a second-year quarterback. So I hope what they learn from a fan's perspective, what the coaches learn is, hey, let's scale back the offense a little bit, do what we're doing for Zappe with Mac and make it a little bit more digestible for him. So that's my takeaway from this. No, I don't think there's no way you should play Bailey Zappe over Mac. But that's my take. Dad or Bill, am I right there, or anything different?
I think you're right on target, Mike. I wish they had, and I was kind of hoping from the beginning of the season that they would start the season with the scale back approach, let Mac grow a little bit more every week. And I think I said that earlier. I'd like to see him go back to Patriot style of football, which when they're running the ball with Stevenson and doing all those kinds of things, they're doing. Play action pass has been good. I think if anything's happened, they have now a solid backup in Zappe. He's got an experience. They should feel good about that. If Mac's ankle is better, I think my opinion would be to play him a half maybe this week. And if they can get up on the Bears, then let Zappe finish the game. Because it's going to be hard for him to go back in cold. If he doesn't play this week, it's going to be hard for him to go back in cold against the Jets the following week. But I think Mac Jones is the quarterback. And I don't think, the only thing I would say is that I'm sure Belichick understands Mac turned it over. They turned it over a bunch more when Mac was the quarterback. Zappe's turned it over one time. That would be the only thing that I think they would think about. But I'm quite certain that he's the starting quarterback. I don't.
Well, let me ask this. And I know this is an older group here. It's probably a young group of Patriots fans that don't remember where I'm about to head. But let me take us back 22 years. And I actually, it's ironic that I'm going to ask this question. I watched the Bledsoe Brady documentary, the E60, about a week ago. So 22 years ago, when we were watching this team and Drew Bledsoe was the starter, first overall pick, and this young cat from Michigan comes in. I mean, wasn't the same thing being said? Bledsoe's the quarterback of this team. And I'm not trying to just light a fire. I'm trying to legit think back. Did we not think that Belichick was out of his mind? I know Brady was good, but he was a game manager. Bledsoe had a cannon arm, was a better quarterback, was a better prospect, was a 6'5", whatever, and just was a stud back there. And not now. Hindsight's 2020. We know now that Belichick made obviously the right choice. But if I think back on that time, I remember in those moments thinking, Brady's great. You kind of get behind him and you get fired up. But I mean, is that maybe what the Patriots fan base is falling into, where it's like the same feeling of that, knowing what Brady was, but forgetting that there was a lot of turmoil there because Bledsoe was the quarterback. And this fan base loved Bledsoe and I remember watching the documentary, and then I want you guys to dive in. There were some pissed off Patriots fans. I remember they interviewed a lot of Patriots fans. A lot of people thought Belichick was crazy and what are they doing? And Drew's our quarterback. There were people I talked to when I was in college at the time that were huge Patriots fans, didn't even want to like the Patriots anymore because they thought what they did to Bledsoe was so wrong. Well, so anyway, go ahead, Mike.
Let's separate Bledsoe, the person and the guy who helped keep the team here in New England, from the player. Because
took him to a Super Bowl in '97.
Right.
It's not like he was a scrub.
One of the things that drove the previous coach crazy and the one before that, he was a gambler. He was going to make that big throw with that big arm, and he was just as likely to put that in the wrong guy's hands as the right one.
Isn't that what Mac's doing, trying to fit in the tight window?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, he would go for it and he would be like, I am trusting my talent. Not, I know this guy's going to be at that place at that time. He would make that talent throw. And it drove Parcells crazy, and it drove all three of them crazy. When Belichick got here, he's like, you're not going to do that. You're just not going to do that. You're not risking ball security with me. So, Mike, I'll say this. If the receiver's running the right route and he's still trying to throw it where it isn't, I'm with you. And if you keep throwing it where a guy isn't, then shame on you for throwing it to the guy. But I think at least if you guys go in there in practice, he doesn't go there in the game, you pull the guy aside and go, what the hell are you doing? Why are you running there?
Yeah, and I'm not advocating Bailey Zappe to be the new Tom Brady. What I'm saying is I just think we need to take a moment and think back to when we were in what felt like a similar situation at the time, and we didn't have 22 years of hindsight to know that Belichick made the right choice. So,
you're calling ball security's dead on.
But no, I'm just saying, go ahead, Dad. Go ahead.
Well, I think if I go back that time when Bledsoe got hurt, and then correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but I think in the papers and the underlying thing was that Belichick had an ulterior motive at the time. I think he was trying to find a way, not that he wanted Bledsoe to get hurt, but I think he was trying to find a way that Brady would become his quarterback. And given the opportunity, when Bledsoe did get hurt, and then Brady was successful, I think that opened the door to him to be able to do what he did with Brady.
Yeah.
That's just thinking back.
Well, the difference now is if you listen to the press conference on Sunday, it's very clear that Belichick's trying to pump the brakes on the Zappe fire. And he's trying to say, whoa, so the mindset, to your point, does seem a little bit different than what it was possibly 22 years ago. Andrew, I feel like you're Bill. Bill, go ahead. Yeah, Bill, go ahead. Yeah, Bill, what do you got on this, man?
I agree with everything everybody said. I believe Zappe's played very well for us. He's managed the game. They've dumbed everything down for him. But the number one thing that Zappe does that I think even better than Mac is he knows how to move around in the pocket. He keeps his eyes down the field. I think he has the awareness in the pocket that Brady had. I mean, he could just sort of float, move forward, move back. He saw the rushes in his periphery vision, but was able to keep focused down the field. I think he's too short, and I think he doesn't have a strong enough arm. But otherwise, I think he's smart. I think he's accurate. And I thought it popped up on my phone today that Mac is the starting quarterback for Monday night. Did anybody else see that?
I didn't see that. I saw that he told the team that he's getting better and he's improving, and that he's slated to possibly start on Monday. But I don't know if it's been
okay.
Nailed
I just saw a headline pop up on my phone. That's all.
I'll tell you what Zappe does do well, and Andrew, I'm gonna pass it to you. What I have noticed is when he is in trouble, he does that Brady duck his head, turn around, and reset his feet really well, which is hilarious to watch. Like, he literally ducks down, turns around, and and usually it results in a sack. But it is interesting to see some of that.
Well, one thing I got, Bill Donovan, I need you to say a sentence with the words short, arm, and smart every single podcast we do, because that makes this a true Pat's tailgate party.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But second, I guess, the one thing I'd say about, and Mike, I think it's the right exercise to go back and remember what it was like in 2001. And, I didn't think Bledsoe was going to be out that long and the Braves going to keep the job. I think the one big difference probably that we haven't talked about that you just have to acknowledge is that Bledsoe also is counting an immense amount of the salary cap. I mean, he had just gotten that huge contract before Belichick got there. Mac Jones is still on a rookie deal. He's still got at least 3.5 more years of team control. There's not really a financial incentive to go with Zappe over Jones. If anything, it probably gives Jones more leash, to be honest. So I just think that's a different dynamic. I think the reality is, my take on this, I think Zappe's a baller. I think he can play. I think his poise is good. I think he's got a lot of Brady. I don't think he's got Brady's talent, but I think he's got a lot of Brady tendencies. Hard worker. He's always been counted out. He seems to have a little moxie. But for me, it's less about Zappe. I think he's a pleasant surprise, and they have a good backup quarterback for a while. I think it's more just I think people forget how good Mac Jones was last year, and how bright his future is. And I think when I hear the argument, that's what I think. I think people are maybe more down on Mac than they are up on Zappe right now. And I just, want to spray a hose on that. I'm not on that wagon.
I also think that the schedule was favorable for Zappe to step in and play. I mean, he couldn't have gone against two weaker defenses, and his success proves that. I mean, they were great. They won 2 games. They needed to win 2 games. They're on a winning streak now, but the schedule fell perfectly for Zappe to be the backup, to be the starter in 2 games, right? So we'll see going forward. I think Jones comes back Monday night. Hopefully he's a little, better with the ball, not turning it over as much, which I think he's thought a lot probably while he's been sitting. But I think it all fell into place for Zappe to start and be successful. And I think that's a key.
Yeah, let's not underestimate the power of the big boys, right? The guys up front, not as many pre-snap penalties, minimizing the amount of time that Big 76 can break down on.
I was just getting ready to say, when they play with 5, they'll be even better.
Well, hold on. Well, wait a minute. Back up on the penalties for a second. I saw quite a few pre-snap penalties on Sunday, Mike. They're still a mess pre-snap. I mean, and some of that comes from the quarterback, to be honest with you, because they're not, the timing's off and the snap counts. But that's got to be fixed. The good news is they're still winning and playing a weaker team if it isn't fixed. And I think that, the other thing that we saw a lot last year that I saw on Sunday, and then I do want to dive actually into Monday night, because I do have a question about Zappe Jones. But Zappe Jones, by the way, that's the 4-string quarterback. Look, it was good to see Jonnu get involved. It was good to see Henry get involved. It was good to see a lot of these players that haven't been as involved because the offense.
Tyquan Thornton, man.
Yeah, Tyquan Thornton.
Tyquan yet.
Well, it looks good to get these guys involved that weren't involved because the sets are different. The formations are different. You got 2 tight ends out there. You're running a lot of screens, a lot of stuff that was really successful last year. And so I hope they bring that back, whether Mac's the quarterback or Zappe's the quarterback. Let's go to your point, Andrew, before we go into Monday night. Let's talk about Taekwondo. Let's talk about Thornton, man. He was a pleasant surprise. I mean,
have you ever seen a wide receiver skinnier than Tyquan Thornton?
No, which is a concern. AJ Green, I thought
sandwich.
Yeah. Well, AJ Green.
Seen anybody skinnier than Thornton.
I mean, that's a concern, right? I mean, that concerns me that he's that skinny. Like AJ Green's that skinny and he used to get hurt all the time. So like I mean, get the kid in the weight room and a protein shake or 2, maybe a power bar or something. Like, I mean, I don't know.
Fly though. And he's got some wiggle.
I know.
I like the way they brought him. I like the way they put him in the game though, with those, the jet sweep and then in the red zone they used them. I think this week at some point you're going to see one deep down the field.
Shout out to Coach. I was watching the game with Dad on Sunday, and in the first half when they were having red zone struggles, I can't make this up. He literally turned and said, "How about running a jet sweep with Thornton one time in here in the red zone? I think it'll throw the defense off and create some space." And sure enough, in the second half, touchdown.
There you go. Look at that, man. Well, I mean,
I get a little tired of red zone offense. Holy cow!
I'll tell you what I got tired of. And there's money involved, so maybe that's why I got tired of it. But if I watch them run that, I mean, get the police battering ram out again with 3 times with Stevenson and literally just try to blast him through the line. I mean, what is that? There's no time for anybody getting a push up front on that play. Dad, what is that play? Like, I don't even know what that is. I mean,
that's awesome. That's the old school straight dive. I mean, here's the other problem.
Love that play, man.
I think it was Harris. Was it Harris or Strong was the other running back? They're not going to give the ball to them. So you got Stevenson over here twice from a yard away. And I think he lost half a yard. I mean, he just straight ahead into the line. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it did look like Mark Riggins or Butkus, or not Butkus. Who's the Dolphins?
Zonka, Larry Zonka.
Zonk
Gladiator reference up
like,
here today.
Like literally,
it was old school.
What are we running? Yeah, well, it didn't work.
No,
actually 6 times I think they ran it. It didn't work.
Speaking of old school, hashtag bring back the pro set. Like that, that's what you do, right?
That's
if you
not
jam
the pro
it in
set,
there,
though.
line them up on both sides of the QB, and let's not let the line know which way we're going.
Well, if you're going to do that, run a split back veer, because that's what you were lined up in.
That's
I don't know if I need Zappe or Jones running the veer. That's the problem.
Yeah, because then they have to run the ball, which Zappe would have a better chance of running. So
I said maybe bring back Cam, is what you're telling me, just for the goal line sets.
That's the key right there. Well, I was a proponent of that 2 weeks ago, just in the goal line. Because let me tell you something right now, and then we'll move on to Monday night. When they lined up with 7 linemen and needed to get a yard, and it was him back there with Johnson, nobody was stopping them except for the one time when they tried to run it off tackle and he got hit in
Seattle.
Yeah, run it straight forward. All right, so Monday night, here's the deal with Jones and Zappe. I mean, if Jones isn't 100% healthy, it's the Bears, man. The defense is terrible. They're 7.5-point favorites at home. They should. Everything shows us based on what they're doing. This is the part of the schedule that's the weakest part. They should crush the Bears. I mean, they're going to give Fields a ton of trouble on defense. They should have short fields. Do you really need Mac Jones to play? Bedard said in his postgame pod that he would like to see him play, to your point, Dad, maybe a few series to get some warm up in, almost like a preseason game. Is that necessary though? Like, or do you want, should if he's not 100% healthy, you need Zappe? I mean, Zappe should play the whole game, right?
He's got to be able to protect himself. That's the biggest thing. I'm not putting him out there if he can't protect himself, and by that I mean moving around enough to avoid a rusher or whatever. If that's the case, yeah, of course you play Zappe and give him another week to rest.
So Mike,
Monday night.
The one thing
Monday night's a short week.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I watched a bunch of the film on the last 2 weeks of the Chicago Bears. And I will tell you, I'm a little nervous because both of those teams are running those gap, runs against the Bears. And I feel like our offensive brain trust is going to be like, oh yeah, let's do that stretch run. Let's do that stretch run. We saw that work with, Minnesota and New York the week before. It's time to bring that out again. I think we keep doing what we've been doing these last couple of weeks. And I'm just nervous that if they start trying to break out the stretch runs with Mac back there, you're going to see the exact same result.
Yeah.
I'll just say that right now, because I think if they're watching the film, those teams really beat Chicago bad with their stretch run game.
If it's me and Mac is not, and I mean 100% healthy, to your point of like, there is no point in playing him right now. There's just not. The schedule doesn't get any tougher for a while. Take your time. Like, don't rush him back. Like, literally, there's just that's me. But again, Andrew, Bill, I don't know if you agree, disagree.
If he's not 100%, all you do is risk further injury to him.
Yeah.
And then we know the schedule's going to change, it's get more difficult, and that's when you need Jones in there.
Yeah.
So
exactly right.
I say if he's not 100%, rest him. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's less about his health, 100%, 80%, 70%. In the NFL, I just don't like the idea. I mean, I think logically I get where Dad, you're going with it, Bedard's going with it, which is like get him some reps, give him a chance to rehabilitate the ankle, have some recovery time. But I just think, 30 plus years of watching the NFL, you can't take any game for granted. I don't care how bad the team is.
Oh, heck no.
It's the one sports league that 14-1 teams lose to 1-14 teams. Like I don't like the idea of like, we're gonna give them a few series and see how it goes. You got to prepare with and if I know Belichick well enough, I know he wouldn't do this because he knows he didn't take anyone for granted. Whoever's going to prepare is going to prepare. We're going to go out and do what we did in practice and the walkthrough. And so if Mac is healthy enough to play the whole game, to your point, then put him out there. Like I don't, ankle sprain's an ankle sprain.
Yeah,
like, don't know if it's good.
Yeah.
If he's not going to play the whole game, then just play Zappe. But like you can't get into that. Give Mac a few series and then get him out. The next thing you know, you're going to be in a tie game with the Bears in like the third quarter. And like, they just need to keep stacking wins, stacking momentum, and doing the right things along both lines.
And Andrew, to your point, didn't like 8 underdogs cover last week and 5 win or something outright?
Yeah, you can't do that in the NFL, man. And the other thing is like, I'm not a big like momentum narrative guy. I think like the execution usually wins, but like, they're also professional athletes. Like you can't run out there like it's a college program against the Bears. You're going to get their best effort, when they're like, oh, they're using us as an exhibition game. Okay. And just none of us need that. Like,
I totally agree. They got to win. They got to win Sunday.
Yeah.
That's got to be.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dad, sir.
The landscape has changed some when Bedard was talking about this 5-game stretch was going to be their chance to get right for a while. Well, the Jets all of a sudden are
juggernaut Jets.
Their defense is really good. Really good.
That changes the dynamic. So they got to win this week and be 4-3 going, playing the Jets.
Let me tell you something. Go ahead and fire up whatever that line's going to be. New England minus, or I can only hope the Jets are favored in that game.
That game at home.
And Zach Wilson ain't Bill Belichick's going to spin the dial on Zach Wilson. So, just give me the Patriots.
I'm not worried about Zach Wilson, by the way. I'm not worried about
the Jets.
Their defense is good. Their defense is good. I know they're the Jets, and their defense is legit.
I'm on record.
And they can run the ball.
It's in New York.
Oh, yeah,
let's get through the Bears first.
Yeah, what are you doing, Andrew? Come on, man! You stepping us ahead here, man. We got to beat the Bears.
First time in Patriots tailgate party podcast history. I'm going to give 2 predictions in 1 week.
Oh,
I'm going to give both.
Oh,
let's go fast. We got a minute. Can we get the predictions in? Come on, can we get the predictions in? Let's go.
I think Monday will be one of those games. It's like, I think we'll win. I don't think it'll be terribly close, but I don't think it'll be all that much fun. Kind of an ugly game. I think Zappe probably plays, and I'll take us 24 to 10.
Okay, 24-10. Dad, go for it.
31-13.
Beat down. Love it. Mike.
That's 28-24, because I think with Montgomery, Mooney, and Metz, they're going to bring more to the table than you think.
All right. Bill?
On Monday night.
24-14. I was going to say 24-10, but we already had the same predictions last week, so I changed.
Next week, Bill gets to go first.
That's right. I got to switch that up. It's my bad. I'm going to go, Dad, I'm going to go with you, 31-13. I'm going to lie. I think that's what you said. Isn't that what you said? All right. I'm going to line it up. We'll see who plays, and we'll see what it looks like on Monday. But as always, it's fun being here with you guys, and let's enjoy the game. Let's keep the winning streak alive.